Welcome to episode 12 of the Gambots podcast. I'm your host, Eric, and this is my co-host.
It's Christian.
Today, we're going to be giving you a quick update on college football. Christian's going to be giving his thoughts on Bohemian Rhapsody and the Nutcracker. I've put close to 10 hours into Fallout Shelter and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And then finally, we're going to wrap it up with a gaming news update. But first, I just quickly wanted to talk about the past weekend in college football. So the newest rankings are out. Number 1's Alabama, number 2's Clemson, number 3's Notre Dame, and number 4's Michigan. Michigan looked very good in their beatdown of Penn State. They are the only one-loss team currently in the playoff. Notre Dame, Clemson, and Alabama are all 9-0. Clemson and Notre Dame have I don't want to say easy because you can always lose in college football, but their destiny's in their own hands, whereas if they went out, they're making the college football playoff hands down. And I think the most interesting news is Alabama and LSU played this weekend, and everyone was anticipating this game. They thought it'd be really good. It ended up being a blowout. Alabama goes into Death Valley and beats LSU 29-0, pretty much solidifying themselves, in my mind, as being the favorites. They are like the Golden State Warriors of the NBA, where it is their championship to lose. I mean, they've always had a dominant defense. They finally have a crazy good quarterback. It's going to be surprising if they do not win the national championship this year. Like, LSU is not a bad team. It's one of their better teams in recent years, and they just got manhandled. So this weekend, you saw Bohemian Rhapsody, Christian. What did you think about it?
It was super good. The critics didn't seem to enjoy it that much, and I can't for the life of me figure out why, because it was really excellent.
Yeah, it looks like on Rotten Tomatoes it has a 60%. What did you like about it?
It was just a very good, well-done movie. I mean, it was like half Freddie Mercury biopic. It was half just about Queen, the band. And I mean, there was a lot of story there that I didn't know. I mean, to be honest, I've been a fan of the music for a while, but I didn't know that much about the band or the story itself. And so there was a lot of information in there that I had never known. And it was cool to see kind of where the songs that I like came from. Rami Malek, who plays Freddie Mercury, was just outstanding. I would not be at all surprised if he wins the Academy Award this year.
Yeah, if I'm remembering right, wasn't Sacha Baron supposed to play Freddie Mercury, and he had a falling out with them where he said that they were unprofessional, and then they were saying he was unprofessional, so he didn't actually finish the role.
Yeah, and honestly, that's probably for the best. I've seen Sacha Baron Cohen movies that I like. I mean, I don't think I've liked any of his actual movies, but I've seen him in movies that I've liked him in. But I think that he would have brought this one kind of down to his level, if that makes any sense. I think Rami Malek did a much better job than Sacha Baron Cohen would have.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I like Sacha Baron Cohen in some of his comedies, but I don't ever really consider him a serious actor. And I'm guessing this is not a comedy.
No, not by a long shot.
Were you a fan of Queen before you saw this movie?
Oh yeah, I've always really liked at least the hits. I'm not gonna pretend to be like a super fan who knows really anything but what would be on the greatest hits album, but the songs that I know I've always really, really liked. There's a lot of good energy in them.
And I'm guessing they bring that energy to the movie.
Oh God, yeah. The whole way through. It starts basically with Freddie Mercury finding the rest of the band, and then it goes the whole way through up to 1985, and it ends with the entire Live Aid performance, which was about a 20-minute set that they did. And it was amazing to see that.
This is probably showing my ignorance here, because honestly, I don't know much about Queen. What is the Live Aid performance?
Live Aid was a concert that was put on simultaneously in, I think, London and Philadelphia, they said. And it was for the African famine. And it was basically just every single recording artist of the day performed a 20-minute set back to back to back to back to back to raise money for it. So it was Queen, David Bowie, I think Elton John, I think Madonna. I would have to pull up like a whole set list, but it was just huge names of people. And they sold out 2 arenas and simulcast it kind of globally on television.
Well, that's cool. So in the movie, they actually show the actual Live Aid performance, or they recreate it?
They recreate it, but it is the whole set.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. I had a regular who comes into the theater every week say that after he watched it, he went home and he watched the original online, and he said they got almost every detail exactly right, down to like the cups that were on the piano.
I really need to check this out. I think I'd like it. I tend to like movies that are about the history of music artists or, along those lines. I think it was 2 summers ago, Straight Outta Compton came out, and I didn't think I would like it, and it ended up being one of my favorite movies of the year. Just because the music was really music can really make a movie, and the music was awesome in it. Everyone did their part well, and it seems like Bohemian Rhapsody, while not about rappers, but it still seems like an interesting movie that I would like.
Yeah, Straight Outta Compton did surprise me at how much I enjoyed it, and this one was no exception. It was really, really fun. Because like you said, the music can make it or break it, and when your whole soundtrack is Queen, I don't think you can really go wrong.
So I'm looking here. It looks like Bryan Singer directed this, and I'm a little bit surprised because he's most known for doing like a lot of X-Men movies.
Yeah, he was on the project. If I'm remembering correctly, I think he left the project or was removed from it at a certain point, but he still got like the director credit.
17 is fired for absence and clashing with the cast and crew, and David Fletcher was hired to complete the film.
So yeah, he still had I know I saw he had the director's credit in the credits. I wasn't looking for the other one, but yeah, so he was still attached to the movie in one way or another. But either way, the movie was very fun.
Dexter Fletcher finished. Not a huge directing list. He has Rocketman coming out in 2019. His Bohemian Rhapsody has Eddie the Eagle, Sunshine on Lilith, and Wild Bill. So not a lot, but it sounds like he finished the project well. I'm curious how much they actually had left to do after they fired Singer.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And now you saying he's on Rocketman next year is interesting. I wonder how much he'll have learned from this movie that he can take to that one, because that's an Elton John biopic.
I was wondering, it sounded like a lot of his movies were music related.
Yeah, so that'll be, if he's the same guy, then I was gonna definitely watch the Elton John one, but now that I know that he's attached to it, I'm even a little more excited for it than I was, because I'm not a big Elton John person. Not that I don't like his music, I just don't know a lot of it.
And so you're saying that not a too grave a Rotten Tomato score for Bohemian Rhapsody, but it looked like it has a budget of $52 million. Do you know what it made in the box office this weekend?
This weekend, it's estimated to have made about $50 million. It made almost all its money back on opening weekend.
Moving from the good movie spectrum to, I'm guessing, the bad movie spectrum, you also saw the Nutcracker, Christian. What did you think of that?
Oh, boy. So I almost walked out of it. It was pretty rough.
So for our audience, if you don't know what the Nutcracker is, it's technically called the Nutcracker in the Four Realms. It stars Keira Knightley.
Yeah, there's a couple of big names in it. Mackenzie Foy is the lead. She's the girl who stumbles into the magic world. She's been in a few things, but the credit that jumped out the most for me was that she played Edward and Bella's daughter in the Twilight Saga, at least the later movies. Helen Mirren is in it as Mother Ginger. Her and Keira Knightley are probably the two biggest names, and Morgan Freeman plays Mackenzie Foy's godfather. It's kind of a mess of a movie.
I got a sense from the previews, is Morgan Freeman even in it that much?
No, he's in the very beginning and the very end.
That's kind of what I was thinking it would be like, because he didn't seem to be part of the magical realm. What is the premise of this? I've seen the Nutcracker before, but it seems like this is taking it to another level. Like, I get Chronicles of Narnia vibes from this one.
Yeah, so if you are familiar with the Nutcracker ballet, it will not help you at all to understand this movie even a little bit. So essentially, it starts with the main girl, Mackenzie Foy's character is named Clara. Her mother has died and left her mysterious clues. And the clues eventually lead her to this new magic world where toys are real people and they're kind of at war with each other. Keira Knightley plays the Sugar Plum Fairy. She's the ruler of the realm of candy. And then there are 3 other realms, thus the 4 realms. So there's a realm of amusements, and there's a realm of flowers, and there's a realm of snowflakes. And each one has a ruler. Mother Ginger is set up as the antagonist, played by Helen Mirren, and she's the ruler of the land of amusements. And then Keira Knightley and the other two rulers convince Clara to try to help them defeat Mother Ginger and restore unity to the realms.
This is obviously a kid's movie, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
It wasn't well done like other children's movies have been done in the past.
No, it was all over the place. None of the actors were particularly convincing, with the exception of Helen Mirren, who I think played her role really, really well. Keira Knightley had a voice that was high-pitched and squeaky the entire movie, and it was not pleasant. I was done with that voice after about 2 or 3 lines of dialogue. Have you ever eaten too much sugar, and your stomach gets upset?
Yes.
That's what her voice sounded like the entire movie. It sounded like a stomachache feels. It was, it was not very fun.
Do you think they're trying to set this up to be maybe not an annualized, but a series where they can keep coming back to this well, or does this seem like it was a one-off movie?
They definitely could. It ends with Clara saying, "Oh yeah, of course I'll come back and visit you." And you brought up Narnia. And it has a similar concept in that time moves differently in the magic world. And so time kind of doesn't pass while you're there in the real world. And so I feel like they would run into the same problem they ran into with Narnia, where the second time they went back, 1,000 years had gone by and everyone had died. Yeah, I don't know that they've thought that far ahead. There is a twist in this movie that is incredibly predictable. And anybody could have really seen this one coming. But yeah, they could set it up to have sequels. I hope they don't. Based on the reviews, I don't know that they will. But it's made $20 million this week, or it's estimated to have been made $20 million this week. So you never know. If they get their budget back, which the budget wasn't listed anywhere online I could find.
Yeah, I mean, with the movie with this many, I'm assuming there's a lot of special effects from the trailers I've seen. That stuff gets expensive.
As far as special effects goes, what this feels like is it feels like it's a spiritual successor to the last round of Alice in Wonderland movies. If you saw those, they were the ones with, I think, Claire Danes.
And Johnny Depp as the Mad Hatter.
So they were whimsical and goofy and kind of nonsensical and pretty to look at, but not much substance to them. That's what this felt like. It felt like it was supposed to be an Alice in Wonderland, but it wasn't one.
What was the music actually inspired by the ballet, or did they just go with their own thing here?
So I've never seen the ballet the whole way through, and so I don't know all of the music. I know the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies, that was in the movie. The Big Nutcracker Overture, the first time it was played was in the ending credits.
Wow.
Yeah, so there was a lot of incidental music that sounded similar to the Nutcracker music. So it's entirely possible that they did play music from the ballet the whole way through and I just didn't recognize it. But the main overture was not played until the ending credits.
You think they would have that? And like you said, maybe they did and you just don't know. But if you're doing a Nutcracker movie, you think you would feature the music very heavily and on it.
So in the beginning, one of the clues that her mother gives her is an egg with a music box in it. And as soon as the egg opened up and I saw the music box, I thought to myself, oh, this is going to play the Nutcracker theme. And it did not. And I was confused by that.
Where I thought Disney might be going with this is like a ballet cinematic universe where she can go to other worlds too, but maybe that's not where they're going with it. There is at about not quite the halfway mark, a 5-minute ballet scene that is almost unbroken. And so I don't know how well received that would be by a lot of children. Yeah, ballet is such an acquired taste. I think smaller girls like it. I was never into ballet, but my sister loved it. She did it for years. So I don't know. I have more of an appreciation for it now as an adult just because it's crazy what some of these people are able to do. But I'm not really going to the movie to see someone perform a ballet. Yeah, there were a lot of strange choices that were made in this movie. They said that this ballet is going to explain the history of their world, and I mean, it really didn't. Oh, also a fun thing was that her mother was the reason she had a connection to this world was her mother was the queen. And as I said, the movie starts with her mother being dead, but they never refer to Clara as the new queen. They keep calling her the princess. And I wanted to
start shouting at the screen like, no, she's the queen now. The old queen has died.
Man, so looking at it, looks like it has a 34% on Rotten Tomatoes, so you're not the only one who did not seem to like this movie.
Yeah, I would say that that's too high.
So this week I haven't actually been able to finish a game, but I picked up Fallout Shelter and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I've put about 8 to 9 hours into Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and Fallout Shelter is a little bit different, but I've been playing it off and on for the past week, so I want to talk about Fallout Shelter first. Have you by chance seen or heard about Fallout Shelter, Christian?
I don't know much of anything about it now.
Okay, so Fallout Shelter is a free-to-play game that was developed by Bethesda. And if for listeners who don't know, Bethesda are the guys who created, obviously, Fallout, which is a hugely popular game. They released the 4th edition in the series a couple years ago. They're also the guys who made the Elder Scrolls series, and probably the most popular game in that series is Skyrim, which I think was released in 2010 or 2011. I can't remember. Probably 2011. This is like a companion game to Fallout, where it's a free-to-play and it's a base building game. So the whole Fallout series is based around a post-apocalyptic world where nuclear fallout happened in the 50s, I think, and there's a lot of callback to like old style music and 50s music or architecture and clothing and things like that. And so Fallout Shelter is about you creating basically what they call vaults, where people survive in the wasteland that is now America. And so it's a base building game where you build power stations, water plants, housing units, cafeterias, health things, and you slowly start acquiring people who are wandering the wasteland. And, you know, it's just trying to live their lives as things happen. So you can get raided, you can get fires breaking out, or cockroaches, which they call rad roaches. And then as you grow, you can actually start sending your guys on quests. But because it's a free-to-play game, everything's timed. So you'll build a power station and then you put a guy in it to work, and then every 3 minutes he'll generate power, and that helps you, and you're trying to keep the bars full so everyone has food and you have enough power to hit all your rooms and everyone has water. But if you send guys out into the wasteland or onto missions to explore, you have to wait 4 or 5 hours for them to actually get there, unless you want to pay to have it immediately, which they do. They're called radicolas, which I think later on in the game you can actually make, but they're essentially, you can pay real world currency to get them. So they have microtransactions in them, which are pretty common on free to play games. So this originally came out on phones, and it's totally a phone game. I can see why people would be into it. I ended up downloading on the PlayStation 4 because it's free. Seems like it's going to take a really long time to platinum just because it has a lot of grindy stuff. But overall, it's not a bad game. Like I think I would like it much better on my phone because of how much waiting there is. But on the PlayStation 4, I don't mind it. Before I play another game, I hop on it for 5-10 minutes, do what I have to do, and then jump off. And it's just like a nice little primer to get ready to play another game. If I ever platinum this game, I'm probably not going to give it a full review because I just told you everything there is, I think, really to know about it, except as you get higher levels, you unlock more rooms. And then you get different people attacking you. Like you can get what's called death claws, which are just very annoying monsters in the game that could attack you, or other types of creatures in that world. My hope is one day to platinum it. If it wasn't free to play and things happened a lot quicker, I would like it better. But seeing as this is mobile, I completely understand why they did not change it for a console, because I think it would just have been too much work.
Yeah, I do remember when this, now that you're talking about it, I do remember when this came out for like smartphones. I didn't realize they had ported it over to a console.
Yeah, it surprisingly works fine on a console. It's just, the waiting element does not work like it does on a phone, because you're always carrying your phone with you. And if it's like, okay, these guys will get here in 4 hours, chances are you'll have your phone on you in 4 hours. If I send those guys out there at 7 o'clock in the morning or something like that, I'm going to be at work. I can't run back to see what they're doing. I have to wait till the end of the day. The best part about it is it's free. So if you want to check it out, and it's an extremely low barrier to entry. And if you have PlayStation Plus, you actually get I think it's called a starters pack or something like that for free if you go somewhere on the store. And it actually helps you build up your base a lot quicker. So that was pretty cool. And the other game that I played this week that actually has eaten up a lot of my time is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I know we've talked about it a little bit on previous shows because of the microtransactions. I'm not really going to touch on that just because we've talked about it before. But I got to say, I really like this game. If you guys don't know, Assassin's Creed is by Ubisoft. They've been making this series since, I want to say, 2007 with the first Assassin's Creed. They've had close to 10 titles, probably more than 10 at this point with their spin-offs. I've not really played the game since Brotherhood, which was their third main title. But man, there aren't even really assassins in this game, Christian. It's loosely Assassin's Creed. There, you don't have the hidden blades or anything like that, but I think it's really fun.
It's an interesting choice. Yeah, I haven't played any Assassin's Creed since 2, but I've heard good things about a lot of them. And this is the one that's ancient Greece, correct?
Yeah, so you're in ancient Greece. You take over for the first time in the series. You choose either to be a man or a woman, so you can be Cassandra or Alexios. I ended up going with Cassandra because I've heard good things about her character. And then, you're on your way for an adventure. It's a real Odyssey.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, and so this is what was completely different for me, and it would be for you since you haven't played it in so long either, was this game really leans heavily into the RPG elements, whereas the last Assassin's Creeds were like adventure action games. This one it reminds me a lot of Dragon Age Inquisition, or surprisingly a little bit like The Witcher 3, where the combat it's not as deep as The Witcher 3, but the combat's not like it used to be, where it's heavily numbers based. So if you go to assassinate someone, you might actually not kill them. You might only do X amount of damage and then still have to fight them, which I think is an adjustment for people who have only played like Assassin's Creed games before. And then this is so much different. But if you played other RPGs, I think it's familiar territory, and it's territory that I really like to be in because I love doing side quests and leveling up and things like that. Also, in this one, they have ship combat, which is surprisingly fun. You get to level up your ship, but to do so, you have to get resources, and getting the resources can be kind of annoying. But the battles themselves are pretty fun. You can ram into other ships. You can fire arrows or javelins while you're going along the seas around Greece. I did not think I would like it, but I ended up enjoying that part of it as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I know besides the Ezio games, I know the Assassin's Creed that was the most well-received was Black Flag. And since Greece sits on the Aegean and the Mediterranean, I was going to wonder if there were going to be any ship battles in this one, since people seem to really, really like the ship combat in Black Flag.
Yeah, and so I haven't played Black Flag, so I don't know how similar it is, but from the screenshots I've seen of Black Flag, I'm going to guess it's pretty close, except you don't have cannons. I enjoy it. I mean, you have like these oarsmen rowing, and they play this booming music when you're trying to get them to speed up to ram into other ships, and it's just surprisingly fun with how much mayhem there is going on. That's actually another thing I wanted to touch on, is I really dig the period music they have for this. I usually don't notice music in games all that well, but there's a couple of themes in here that while I'm playing, I'm just like, man, I really dig that. I feel like I'm in Greece right now.
That's pretty cool. Now, I know in a lot of the other games, I don't know if it's all of them, they have like a historical character that like helps you out. Is there one of those in this one? Like I know in the Ezio games, you hung out with Leonardo da Vinci.
Yes, they are in this one. I'm almost positive based on looking at the trophy list. I cannot remember who they are, but I remember looking at like, oh, okay, these are the historical figures. If they've shown any that I've met, they were lesser known people, and I'm not positive if they're actually historical figures or not, but I know there are famous ones in this game. I do know in this one because I ran into an area where this occurs, but I unfortunately was not at the proper part of the game to play it. And spoiler alert a little bit to anyone playing, you can fight mythical creatures in this game. It seems like you can fight either Medusa or the Minotaur or something. It looked like in Arena I found to fight one of them. So I'm pretty excited to do that.
Nice.
In recent gaming news, this week, Kingdom Hearts 3 has released a new trailer. Have you gotten a chance to watch that, Christian?
I did. It's for the Tangled World. Corona Kingdom, I think.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie, I've not watched many Kingdom Hearts trailers just because I don't like to get overhyped for a game. I like to temper my expectations, but I watched this one, and Kingdom Hearts 3 looks really gorgeous graphically. Like, that game looks good.
It does, yeah. It was very pretty. They did like some of those were like shot for shot from the movie. It was pretty cool.
That's what blew my mind. I was like, wait a minute, are they like superimposing Tangled into the game? And it's like, no, that is, I was assuming that was real-time footage of, gameplay there and not just a cutscene.
Yeah, that's definitely what it looked like. Because there was a moment where Rapunzel was swinging around the tree and it looked like she was hitting enemies. But it was also looked like a shot for shot from the movie.
And also, speaking of like her hitting enemies, it looks like she might be used as some sort of traversal option too. Did you see her like swinging with Sora to like a point?
Yeah, that would be neat. I'm not sure if she's going to be the character that you can swap out for a party member. I would think Flynn would be the more obvious choice since he's more combat ready, but it definitely looked like she was doing damage.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, who knows? Maybe they switched up the formula. Maybe you actually can get 2 new characters now in a world.
Yeah, that's true. New game, new rules.
What I also was really surprised me, and I knew these were coming, but I haven't watched very many trailers, was the special attacks that are essentially just Disney World rides or Disneyland rides. I saw like a Buzz Lightyear one in there.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up because I am not a fan of that at all.
They don't make sense canonically, but the Disney, like, I love Disney World, so it's just kind of cool to see it in a game, but I don't understand why they're in the game.
Yeah, like there have always been some things that were iffy, like the summons, especially in the first game where you were summoning characters that you'd never encountered before. Like you got to summon Dumbo just kind of because, or you got to summon Bambi just because. But at least those had like an in-game, oh, you found this item that allows you to summon their essence or whatever, like fine. But the idea that you're going to be able to summon like Big Thunder Mountain and ride a roller coaster to kill the Rock Titan, or like you said in this one, you could summon the Buzz Lightyear shooting ride to help you fight Heartless. That's silly to me in a way that I was not really prepared for.
Yeah, like it's jarring because you've played more Kingdom Hearts than I have. I've really only played the first 2, and I feel like the first Kingdom Hearts was a Square game with Disney characters. And then I felt like the second one was actually more of a Square game, and like they minimized the Disney aspect, the worlds and whatnot, but the actual story itself was like heavily Square Enix. Like it seems like Disney's putting more, or they're at least pushing the Disney agenda by including like the rides and stuff like this. I'm curious if because Kingdom Hearts has become so big that they're now being like, nope, we want to do this. Like that's why all of the worlds are new, or more or less new. I mean, there is the Hercules Coliseum and stuff still in the game. But I mean, you have Tangled now, you have Big Hero 6 World, and you have Frozen World. I know those are all popular, but I wonder if Disney's actually pushing Square to do this, or this was Square's choice.
I would bet it's Disney. So there was something that stuck out to me as I've watched all of the Kingdom Hearts trailers, because I have been kind of absorbing them as they've been released. The thing that I've been noticing, and then I had to look up and other people have noticed it as well, is there haven't been any Square characters in any of the trailers.
Really?
Yeah. And so there was an interview done with the creator, and they asked, where are the Square characters? And he basically said, we included them to begin with because we wanted like Final Fantasy players to play this game, but now that it has like its own following, we think it can stand on its own. So the answer may be they're not in it.
See, that's really disappointing because obviously they got me. I don't know if I ever would have played this game without Cloud Strife and Squall / Leon and Yuffie and Sephiroth and all those guys being in it, because I was like finally getting to see them in a 3D space that wasn't turn-based. And they're a huge part of Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, so I'm kind of the opposite. I definitely started playing it as a Disney fan because I hadn't really played any of the Final Fantasies up to that point when the first one came out. But yeah, even story-wise, like they're integral to the story, especially once you get into Kingdom Hearts 2 and some of the later ones. Like, they're really part of the narrative. I can't imagine Kingdom Hearts 3 won't have at least some of them, but yeah, none of them have been featured in the trailer yet.
Yeah, actually, a problem I think maybe they've had too is, so you had Final Fantasy VII come out in 97. You had, I think, 8 and 98 or 9, 8 and 98 and 9 and 99, then 10 and 2001. You had 4 games within the past 6 years come out. Since those ones, you've had 10 2, which, it's part of the 10 universe. You've had 12, which doesn't have any real strong characters in it. You've had 2 MMOs. You've had 13, which fans don't seem to really like in general, and I didn't personally care for any of the characters. And then you have 15, which it seems to be a mixed bag on if people like it or not. So you had characters people loved from Final Fantasy right before Kingdom Hearts came out, and then I can't think of a character anyone's been like as game-changing as Cloud was at the time, even though he's a meme now of being emo. But at the time, like, people loved Cloud.
Oh yeah, that's definitely, like, that's something that I hadn't really thought about, but you're definitely right. There aren't really any characters from these more recent games that are kind of like universally recognizable the way that Cloud and Leon were. Yeah, it's been strange. I would be really disappointed if they decided to not include any Square characters. I really, that was part of the fun for me, was seeing those two worlds, like the Disney universe and the Square universe, kind of come together. And I mean, it'll still be fun if it's just the Disney universe, but I think it'll have lost something.
It's mind-boggling that game ever got made in the first place, and I'm like so happy it did. But, like, Square, Final Fantasies have kind of a goofy aesthetic. Like, Final Fantasy 9 has Vivi and, like, the black mages and stuff. So I can see how it can work. But, yeah, if you start taking out the Final Fantasy aspect of it, it becomes a Disney game with, I consider Sora a Square character, but maybe Disney considers him part of the Disney canon. I don't know. Like, and granted, Kingdom Hearts has also developed a cast of their own characters. But still, I mean, I love just seeing the Square Enix guys. It was always a treat for me. So hopefully they don't, like you said, they don't lose that.
I think they do consider the original Square characters, because that was part of the discussion with the creator, Tetsuya Nomura, when he said, one of the reasons they included the Final Fantasy characters was because their originals couldn't stand on their own yet, but now they feel like they can, because Sora and the gang are kind of well established now, and so they don't think they need the supporting cast of the other Final Fantasy characters as much anymore, which is true, but that's, not the point. The other thing, I'm trying to think back now that we're on the topic of the Square characters. I never finished Dream Drop Distance, the most recent game, so I can't speak to how many there are in that one. But in the one before that, Birth by Sleep, I'm only coming up with one. I think Zack is the only character who makes it into Birth by Sleep, if I'm remembering correctly. And then in Dream Drop Distance, like I said, I can't speak to the Final Fantasy characters, but they switch gears and they have characters from the game The World Ends With You. I don't know if you ever played that. I never did. So those characters were not very meaningful to me.
Yeah, I didn't have a DS at the time, and I never got around back to playing it, but I know people seem to really like it.
Yeah, so like I said, I don't know how many Final Fantasy characters there were in that, but there were definitely like other Square characters, like a whole host of them. So it would be strange for them to switch gears like that out of nowhere.
I think there might be a World Ends With You level in this new one, but I'm not positive.
That would be interesting.
BlizzCon happened this past weekend, and I want to talk about maybe some quicker news first. Overwatch has announced a new character. Her name's Ashe. She is a cowboy sniper. A couple of her moves include she can stare down the barrel and snipe like a normal sniper, but she doesn't have tons of range, or she can shoot from the hip. She does like damage over time a little bit like Ana does. She also has what we're calling a stagecoach gun, where if she shoots an enemy, it pushes them away and also pushes her away. Seems a little bit like a mixture between Lucio's Boop and Pharah's concussion blast. She also she can throw a stick of dynamite that's on a timer, or she can shoot it to prematurely explode it, and anyone in the area gets burn damage. And it looks like it does fairly good damage too. And then finally, her ult is she calls in an Omnic NPC that's like a big guy like Reinhardt that you can actually nano boost and heal, and he'll come in and he'll push the opposing team and knock anyone in the air, and then he will lay down suppressing fire. I'm curious to see how this will work in actual gameplay, if people can work around him very easily or if he's, a huge threat or what. So that's pretty interesting to see a new character come out. At BlizzCon this weekend, they announced that there will be a new Diablo game being released, but it was not the ones the fans were expecting. It's called Diablo Immortal, and it is going to be a mobile game. Have you ever played Diablo, Christian?
No, but I know it's a pretty well-liked series.
Yeah, so Diablo's, it's changed over the years, but it started out as sort of like a CRPG where it's all about going through the dungeons and looting. And then you play the game on a harder mode and you get better loot. And there's just a good feedback loop of you killing guys, getting better loot, and slowly getting your character to be awesome. So the last Diablo I played was Diablo 3 on the PlayStation 3. Thought it was pretty fun and have not played it very much since. But Blizzard has very passionate fans, I guess. And they were not happy to see that this is a mobile-only game who is being developed with a Chinese company called NetEase. So it's not even really a Blizzard game. They're contracting the work out, and a lot of fans were angry about this. I don't know did you get a chance to check out the subreddit drama link I sent you?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to give you a quick background on this one. So it seems like fans were angry, number one, because Blizzard prior to BlizzCon was like, hey, we have a lot of Diablo projects in the work. And it seemed like they tried to temper fans' expectations, and that just led to speculation about what they were going to be announcing. And then instead announcing Diablo 4 because the original Diablo was released Diablo 3 was released in 2012. A lot of fans were thinking they were going to get a Diablo 4 announcement. Blizzard announced this, mobile game. The assumption is it's going to be a free-to-play game. A lot of fans, the assumption and speculation is there's going to be microtransactions because Blizzard's now owned by Activision. They're worried they're going to be putting, all this stuff in there and essentially ruin Diablo for them. And so a lot of fans, I think to a certain extent, rightfully so, were disappointed with the announcement. And there's been a lot of backlash in the days coming from it, where it seems like this has transformed from fans, number one, being angry at Blizzard to just fans complaining about everything. There's people on Reddit and other message boards being like, this is because, this happened because Blizzard is overrun by SJW warriors and things that really make no sense. And it's just turned into, I think, a little bit of a complete mess, to where now news articles are writing, Diablo fans are entitled babies. And then it's, them arguing that their game journalism doesn't exist anymore. And it's just been like a huge drama fight between, subsets of two groups of gamers, I think. And it's been interesting to watch, to say the least, I think. And what I actually find most interesting about this, the question of me is, when does a passionate fan base, or even just in general, a passionate fan become an entitled fan? Like, what is the line,
Yeah, this is something I think about a lot, actually, especially in regards to the big one lately was the Star Wars series. When people don't like the way that their favorite thing goes, they get really hostile and whiny about it, and it drives me a little crazy.
Yeah, and I get you're really into it and you want it to go one way, but at the end of the day, it's not your property. And because, the world doesn't go your way, I get it. You can complain, but there's a certain point when you just have to move on with your life. Like if you're so invested in this, that might not be the healthiest thing for you, Yeah,
it's pretty intense sometimes. I know, a good example for me personally would be The Last Airbender. My God, that movie was a nightmare, and it was I'll literally never watch it again. But I'm not gonna let it ruin the original series for me, because the original series was so good. But a lot of times with this kind of stuff, I see people saying "Oh man, this ruins everything. I'll never be able to enjoy it again." Why? Come on, get a grip.
Yeah, and it's not like you're going to message boards and writing about how some group that you don't agree with has taken over Nickelodeon or something, whoever sold the rights to The Last Airbender. and being like this, the reason that this is happening is because we let women write movies or something like that. Like those are not comparing two things. Like that's just you pushing your own agenda at that point. And what annoys me is like everyone's like, we're going to boycott. Let's, I'm done with them. As soon as they announce Diablo 4, every one of these guys are going to go buy it. Not everyone, but like 90% of them, like they're not going to follow through. These are hollow threats, and it just is not a good look. It's like, I love video games. It's the one thing I'm super passionate about, but it's things like this that is why I don't think they're taken seriously. It's just like the fan base, because, a lot of them are kids and stuff, but still like the fan base doesn't behave in a reasonable manner sometimes. And it does not give everyone a good look. Like the vocal minority gives everyone else a bad look.
Yeah.
Christian, and I completely understand the fans that are being disappointed. They paid, hundreds of dollars to be there, and they're expecting something. So I get the, them being angry when you're at BlizzCon, and it's like, oh, why would you, to whatever extent they did, why would you hype this? But then like the entire backlash after the fact with, people watch it on Twitch or whatever, you should have better things to do than this. Like, sure, you can not like it and you can voice your opinion. You got to move on at some point.
Yeah, exactly. There are better things to focus your time on. And it goes back to, like you said, being entitled about stuff. Like these game companies don't owe you anything. If you don't like the new thing, that's fine. Just go back and play the old ones until they release something that you do like. Just like get a tighter grip on your horses.
Yeah, or follow through with your threats and never play a game again. Like I get, like a lot of these guys put hundreds of dollars into the ecosystem, but if Blizzard starts seeing a lot of people cutting ties, maybe they will take that more seriously. You need to, I think, have a little bit of context in this. And if this one game is your whole life, like, I'm not going to shame you on that, but sometimes you should maybe explore other avenues just so you have context of what this really means. Like, this isn't the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, exactly. There's other ways to vent your frustrations.
All right, and this week Christian is going to be giving me the clues for the Amazon review game. For anyone who does not know the rules, Christian is going to read me a 5-star review from Amazon. I will then get 2 yes or no questions, and I can guess, or I can have Christian read me another review. I'll get 2 more yes or no questions. Then I can ask Christian to read me a final review, and then I have to guess the movie. I am ready.
Okay. One of my very favorite films of 2014. What I was worried would be a feature-length commercial is instead a very funny, somewhat subversive film overflowing with ideas, puns, perfect music, wacky cameos from everyone from Shaquille O'Neal to a wonderfully warped Will Arnett. It doesn't look like any film I've seen before. It has a rough, almost bizarrely low-tech look, stop motion that looks like stop motion, oddly but effectively, combined with mind-blowing, huge, complicated shots of a universe in action. Somehow, the unlikely mix of the slickness and lo-fi, something wonderful is created. Animation that is wildly impressive, but also clearly human, creative, and do-it-yourself at the same time.
Man, you're giving me a lot of clues here, Christian, and I'm not picking up on them. Like the year, 2 people who are in it, it's stop motion. Is this a DreamWorks movie?
It is not a DreamWorks movie.
This is really stumping me. This came out 4 years ago. What was I doing 4 years ago? Does this feature like anthropomorphic animals?
No.
I feel like I should get this in one.
This film is basically a spoof of every Hollywood Vision Quest movie you've ever seen. You know the films. A young character, almost always male, is called to save the world neighborhood kingdom. He's overmatched and underprepared, but with a kindly old mentor of great power to guide him, you know he will eventually prevail. Except here, the special character at the center isn't really very special. He's a young working guy like millions of others who's not very bright or especially brave, who just wants to live his happy, blank, endlessly repetitive and safe life. His mentor, none other than the voice of Morgan Freeman, expertly spoofing his own image as the ultimate voice of wisdom. He plays a wizard who is far less consistently brilliant and all-knowing than he claims or wants to be. He's very, very funny, which is not the first thing one thinks of with Morgan Freeman. The same could be said of Liam Neeson, who does a great voice job as a bad cop, good cop, whose personality changes depending on which side of his head is facing front.
There are so many clues here, Christian. I have no idea. Like, I feel like this is a movie I would love.
It's a movie I love for sure.
Was this an indie movie?
No.
Man, I guess it wouldn't be. It has all these names in it. Okay. Does this have Batman in it?
It does.
Is this the Lego movie?
It is.
Oh my gosh. I completely forgot about that movie. All right, well, that's most of our show, guys. But before we leave, Christian, what are you going to be checking out this week?
Well, Sanderson has either a novel or a short story, I'm not sure which, coming out tomorrow called Skyward. I'm definitely going to probably read that in one go. I'm going to try to get it done before, if it's a short story, I'm sure I'll get it done before election coverage starts tomorrow evening. Other than that, The Grinch comes out this week, I know. I'll probably end up watching that with my nephews, despite not being a very big Grinch person. Yeah, that's probably about it. Nothing else really comes out this week that I'm super excited for.
I don't know what my schedule's looking like, but I kind of want to see Bohemian Rhapsody after hearing you talk about it. The main thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be playing a lot more of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I really want to put some time into it to see if leveling actually becomes an issue, which is what we talked about before with microtransactions or not. Yeah. I mean, in the first 10 or so levels I've played, I haven't had an issue. So I'm wondering if it's like that later on or not. Other than that, I got to catch up on The Good Place, and I might play some Overwatch since we're getting a new character here soon.
This week's Good Place was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm behind on that. I watched this week's Bob's Burgers, which I don't know if you watched that show or not, but it was pretty awesome.
I used to. I haven't watched it in quite a while, but now that I have Hulu, it's one of the things that I've been meaning to get caught up on.
Oh, sorry. Now you talk about Hulu. One shot I want to give, I don't know when they got it, but they have King of the Hill on Hulu. I think it's a completely underrated show if you've never watched it. I think it holds up better than The Simpsons and maybe even South Park to a certain extent, because South Park's so topical on some of their episodes. But if you have any interest, King of the Hill is awesome. I don't know if the first season that's good, but is that good? But some of the later ones I love.
Well, I just started season 3 of Brooklyn Nine-Nine because I finished my Parks and Rec walkthrough a couple of days ago. I'd never watched the last season of that, so I was excited to see how Parks ended. But now that I'm done with that, Brooklyn Nine-Nine's top of my list. But yeah, King of the Hill, I'd always just kind of written off, but I might have to check it out if you're saying it's that good.
Well, number one, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, awesome show too. It's awesome. It's great that you're getting to watch it. King of the Hill, maybe it's like an acquired taste for me. Like no one ever talks about it, but I think some of the side characters, especially his neighbors, are hilarious. All right, guys. Well, thanks for checking out our episode. If you want to follow us, we're at Gambots Network on Twitter. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.